So, welcome to June. What? Every month I'm blown away by the fact that it is in fact the next month. But this month, at least I've been aware of it enough that I am filming my favourites relatively early. There have been some months where it's just totally sneaked up on me. But let's talk about my favourites, my reviews. If you're new here, hello. Every month I do a wrap up of sort of everything I've consumed, shall we say. And usually it's the good things, but occasionally there'll be something that I didn't love as much, and I'll talk about that as well. And I always encourage you to write down below if you've seen, read, watched any of the things I talk about, and also if you have any of your own favourites or things you did or didn't like in the month. So I'm gonna begin with movies, and I've just got the one, and it's Kung Fu Panda 4. I've not seen Kung Fu Panda 1, 2, or 3, but I watched 4 in the cinema. I was babysitting my cousins and they wanted to go see it, so I went with them and I got a little snack box with some popcorn and some sweets, so that was nice. And I enjoyed the film and I was able to follow it for the most part, even though I hadn't seen the first 3 and knew nothing about them. But I thought it was good, so yeah, I enjoyed it. Then onto TV shows, I've got kinda 2, kinda 3. The first one, which is the kinda, is of course Eurovision. In case you're new here, I am a big Eurovision fan and have been all my life. I very much grew up with it, and every May I make lots of videos about Eurovision, and this month has been no different. Even though Eurovision was definitely more, shall we say, dramatic this year, but I did still love it, of course. Then the 2 other TV shows are finally Marvel ones. We finally managed to get back into watching Marvel. Again, if you're new here, I have a friend who introduced me to Marvel. I want to say it was in 2021 or end of 2020. And over the years, we've been catching up and watching lots of new things. And we're now currently actually going back to watch the Netflix shows of like Daredevil and Iron Fist and Jessica Jones and all those ones, because apparently they're being introduced to Marvel. And as you may have been able to tell from the first 2 I said there, the 2 we've been able to watch this month have been Iron Fist Season 2 and Daredevil Season 3. Daredevil Season 3 has got to be in my top 3 of all the Netflixy ones we've seen. I really enjoyed it. My tea is so hot. But it's the perfect colour. Like, I think I've given myself a really good mug of tea, and it's the perfect height as well, that it's not going to spill. It makes me very happy. And the reason also, by the way, why I'm so excited about that is because we had to take quite a bit of a break because I was studying and our work schedules weren't matching, and we're watching together but not in person. So it's taking a lot of planning, and I think we've taken about a 6-week break, and we finally this month managed to get back into it in the last 2 weeks or so. So I've been very happy about that. For books, I've got 3. I've got La Belle Sauvage by Philip Pullman, which I enjoyed, but I didn't love. I think I gave it 4 stars. Then I've got Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus, which I was expecting to be a non-fiction, but it was a fiction, and I loved this. This might have got 4.75, maybe 4.5. This book just was so good. Basically, the premise is it's a scientist working on, I think, the 50s or so, and obviously a female scientist, so, you know, everything that comes with that. But the thing that's so interesting is that there are things and topics being spoken about in the book that I relate to, you know, in the 2020s, which is crazy. And I've always been a feminist, and I've always felt that injustice, and to have it written down, it was so well written, and it was such a good book. Like, I really enjoyed it. Not just because of the topic, like I just enjoyed it as a read. It was a very easy, comfortable read, even though it made you question things and, you know, made you mad. I really liked the style of it and the story and everything. And then the third one is City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. Now, I read this book, I think in 2015, 2016, about that time. And I remember really enjoying it when I first read it, but also not totally following the story. And I never went on to read all the following books in the series, even though, you know, that's what I did when I was younger. Still is what I do now, to be fair, I just read less series. But last month or the month before, I was rereading one of the Percy Jackson spin-offs, I think. And I'm missing sort of totally getting wrapped up in a new world, a fantasy world with, you know, details and stories and characters that you can follow through the years. And the Percy Jackson spin-off one, I think it was Magnus Chase, even though I liked it, I think because it was only 3 books, it didn't feel like it quite hit that spot for me. And I think I was also a bit more confused about the Norse gods and things like that. So I thought to myself, why don't I go back to this book that I know I liked and that I know has quite a number of books in the series. And, you know, they're available on my library app as an audiobook, so let's go for it. And I did. and I loved it. And there was so much I'd forgotten. There were a few things I remembered, some key plot points that I had remembered and plot twists, which was a shame, of course, that I knew that they were coming. But I did really enjoy it, and I do feel like it was still, a lot of it did feel like a new read. And I finished that just a few days ago, so I'm going to start the next one in the series, and I'm just going to work my way through. And I'm really happy that I've now got a series to listen to. And I really liked the narrator. I think it was Ari Gaynor. I have a feeling is the name that sticks out to me, but I could be mistaken. So that's good. And I'll report to you about the rest in the June favourites, probably. Hopefully. Now, this month I also went to see a play. Again, if you're new here, I do a lot with musical theatre and theatre in general and film and TV and all that jazz. And I see a lot of theatre, and I live close enough to the West End that I'm often able to get last minute cheap tickets. And in this specific instance, I was able to get free tickets to a play on the day itself. Like literally an hour and a half, I think, before the show started. So the play I went to see is not even one I'd heard of, not one I'd even seen advertised or anything. It's called Minority Report, and apparently it's based off a film, which might be based off a book, but there's definitely a film. Never heard of it. This play, oh, I have thoughts. I loved the premise of it. I thought the idea, the trigger point of the story was very good. I thought some of the actors were brilliant. There was one actress in particular and one character that was also very well written, so, you know, she was given that, but you never know how well they're going to do it, and that was the AI character. She was fantastic. I thought she played it very well, and I thought the character was written very well. The set was phenomenal. It was insane. I would say the closest show I've ever come to seeing like this one was The Twilight Zone, but they were very different, both of them. I guess it's the only other sci-fi show, theatre play that I've seen. Obviously Back to the Future would be considered sci-fi, but that feels different. And there were moments about this play that I loved and that were really well done, and then there were moments that I didn't love as much. And I think I would have given it maybe a 3 stars, I don't know, maybe 3.5. But we're gonna do a theatre wrap up at the end of the year like I did last year as well. Now we're gonna skip ahead to food. I've got 2. Number 1 is Artisan Fudge with a Z. This is a company that we got to have some free fudge from, and we had about 10 different flavours. I tried, I think, about 5, and they were so good. Not every flavour was as good as the other, but every flavour was, like, potent, I suppose. The regular fudge was delicious. I had one that was, Biscoff, which was amazing. I think there was an elderberry one as well, which I liked. I can't remember, but they were very good. So I would recommend checking them out if you're looking for some fudge, especially if you're looking for, you know, interesting flavours. And then the second one is a recipe that I took off a YouTuber called Click for Taz, I think. And she was making one-pot recipes, and one of these I tried to copy. It wasn't perfect, but actually it made a lot, and it did very well, both as a meal and as meal prep for the next few lunches and things like that. And instead of couscous, I think I used buckwheat, although I can't remember. It was definitely a replacement. It wasn't couscous, but it was good. And I was just happy to find a new recipe that I can make and meal prep and that kind of thing. Then I've got 2 others, and I would consider both of them kind of techie. Number 1 is this charger, which I think I got off Amazon for about £3. I can't show you the actual thing because it's plugged in, but it's got like a kind of shimmery golden colour. Not quite gold, but I don't know. I like that it's a colour because it's easy to spot and easy to bring and not get confused with other people's. It seems to be longer than the last one I had, which was an actual Samsung one, and it seems to be stronger. Although, to be fair, my Samsung one lasted a long while. It's just got to the point now where it does still work, but it's very iffy and probably dangerous to use. And I mean, I've only had this one probably for about a month, but I am very happy with it. And then number 2 is a website that I have spoken about on my channel in the past, probably multiple times, but not in a while, and it's Jetpunk. Jetpunk is an online website with hundreds of thousands probably of quizzes, ranging in every topic. And the 2 places I work, both of them occasionally dip in terms of busyness and it gets really quiet, and I'm always on a computer, and it's a really good thing to do quizzes because it makes you look busy, and it's not on your phone, and it's good for the mind. So I've mainly been doing geography quizzes, Eurovision quizzes, and musical quizzes, and I love it. And some language quizzes, I think, as well, and flags and things like that. So that's been a lovely find, a lovely thing to remember about this month. And then the very final thing that I always share in my monthly recaps, reviews, whatever you want to call them, is my song of the month. And for this month, I've gone for Fighter by Tully, which was the Luxembourg entry to Eurovision this year. I could have gone, I mean, there were so many Eurovision entries I could have gone for, but this is the one I think I've played the most since Eurovision. Let me see if I can play you a little bit. I'll just play you a little bit.
Mais voilà, rester comme ça, faut faire des choix, quoi dans la tête.